What up, everybody? If you see a box missing, that's purposeful. You started with the foolery already. You're just gonna come in with the nonsense, and I'm gonna go about 15 minutes in my soliloquy. So, welcome again to the Brothers of Legacy. As you can see, back on the scene, crispy and clean. My brother, like no other, Pastor Brian A. McCrory, Senior, in the building, and is and the crowd goes wild. Got Mr. Thomas Cotton in the building. I was wondering if he's gonna show up. Look at him, all on CP time. Stop picking with him. Reese in the building. Good
morning. Back on the rundown.
You're muted, Reese.
I've been here for a while. Fortunately, it was actually, for some odd reason, there was a delay happening on my end. It didn't look like you guys were up and going. So I just waited until, I didn't want to jump in prematurely, but my apologies. But I've been here since 8 o'clock waiting.
Okay. Listen, just as a note, I didn't put it in the email, but yeah, we usually try to jump on like 15 minutes prior, so you can always jump in on the pre-talk and we can, talk about other stuff.
No problem. Just trying to stay in my lane. I'm a guest here. And I appreciate it.
You're good. You're good. I appreciate you.
You've moved up from the guest, man. You're wallpaper now.
Right.
Okay. No doubt. Thank you.
All right. Let's get this intro off. Then I hit my Black History fact. Then we'll get into it and see where this goes. All right. Spliggity splow. And let's go.
Stand up.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Estelle Miller. Good morning. What up, Jeff? Jeff in the building. Good morning, Lisa. As always, good morning. Thank you for sharing. Mama Corey in the building. Good morning, and Pastor Long. Great morning to you guys. There's more. I just talked to the folk that put comments up. I can't see everybody else. Good morning, and welcome again to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. It is Freestyle Friday. I need to have one of them air one.
Oh my god,
that was it. That did it.
That did it.
I'm not gonna lie. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite sounds in the world.
Yes,
is that? And it's so awful. A friend of mine went to a wedding and a father gave an impassioned speech about giving away his daughter to the groom, and everyone, it wasn't a dry eye in the room, and the DJ, after the father gives a great speech and everybody's literally weeping, he was like, "All right, y'all,
let's turn it off. Let's get out these emotional feelings. Let's go.
Snap out of here.
I need to start my playlist. Let's go. All right. So good morning from Trenton, New Jersey. All right. Well, welcome.
Jersey.
Make sure you share. All right. So I'm gonna jump into my Black History fact, and then I'm gonna toss it over to Pastor and see what stories, not the jokes. Don't worry, Kareem, don't leave yet. Whatever, his experience this week. And then Reese said he had something to share. But I'll probably toss to Thomas and Kaneem if they got something on their hearts and mind that they want to share. All right. So Black History fact. All right. So in Chicago, right, there is a memorial to a tragedy that happened on the port of Chicago. It says segregated units during the war. The Black sailors had limited jobs. African Americans had limited jobs. One of them was an extremely tedious and dangerous job of loading weapons and ammunition. Not surprising. Like the one job, one of the limited jobs. One July evening in 1944, more than 5,000 tons of munitions exploded, killing 320 and injuring hundreds of others. Not 2 weeks later, they were trying to send those men back to that space. 258 of them refused. 50 of them were court-martialed and guilty of mutiny. The terrible tragedy led to the desegregation of the U.S. Navy and subsequently all armed forces, inspiring many to become part of the civil rights movement. To date, the U.S. Navy has refused to overturn the court-martial of the 50 soldiers. It's interesting. All right. Just a quick Black history fact, right? Just let that sink in. Let me hit the horn. Dun, dun! All right. Pass this to you. Everyone's like, wow.
Well, in the words of Jeff, oh, dang.
right. Yeah. Yo, have you ever got like rough news that you weren't just someone like, hey, what up, brother? How's everything going? They hit you with like some hard news. You're just like, oh, wow. Just like you don't even know where to go with a conversation. Like, oh, man,
yeah. You did
that's
that
horrible.
to me.
You said what?
I said you did that to me.
Right.
when you called me and told me Ephraim I got into that wreck.
Oh, right.
I was all amped up. Man, what's going on, brother? What's going on? Yeah. You know, Ephraim got into a wreck. Oh, snap. What else, man?
Right.
So I was like, I was tripping when you told me he got into that wreck.
Right. I haven't mentioned it on the show. So Ephraim got into a car accident. He's fine. He's just had his leg got seriously damaged. They had to do surgery. So he's in a long recovery. So I apologize. I realize I probably talked to everybody. But I haven't told you guys because he's on this platform, on this broadcast.
Yeah.
So yeah,
wow.
Prayers up for Ephraim. And yeah, you guys, he's not really on Facebook. I know he's on Instagram. So if you connected to him, inbox him, say, hey, we're praying for you. Just reach out. All right. Yeah. So yeah, definitely prayers up. But he's good. Family's good. Car, of course, not so good. That's why they designed him that way now to take all of the pressure. It's a good bag because you hate it because you're like, oh, gotta go get another car. But he's all as well though. It keeps you from the worst happening. All right. Let's go. Oh yeah, he's good though. Pastor, how was your trip? Any interesting stories to share? Or
where did the pastor go?
Oh, well, this past week I was in Boca Raton. So nothing major, nothing massive. It's just that it was my first opportunity to meet with the new organization, team members of the new organization that acquired my company. Right. Some of you may not know that I worked for one company for 17 years. Company went bankrupt. We were divided into multiple parts, and two different companies bought up the pieces. And so I had an opportunity to meet the CEO, the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, and a lot of the management team. And so we spent a week. Basically, it was supposed to be a national sales meeting, but it was really just a week-long training session. So this is corporate America, where you're sitting in a room with your eyes glazed over by 3:00, right. And you're just counting down. So there's nothing spectacular about that except for the newfound relationships, man. It's interesting that in life we get these lessons, and I really thought I was going to retire from the company that I was working for, SunGuard Availability Services. Mm-hmm. And me and a couple of my friends, my coworkers, we made a pact that we were all going to commit. As long as we were all there, we were going to stay there. No one was going to leave on their own. We were going to talk and have conversations if anybody decided to take another opportunity. And then the company kind of went sideways just because of tough decisions. Great product, great services, but you got a bunch of engineers who are over 40 who don't want to move, Right, and then life happens, and you got to go. You have to shift. You have to make a different. You have to head in a different direction. And when it happened, what I did for a living, and I want to try to simplify this as much as I can. What I do for a living is very complex in the IT world, and what has happened is the world that I'm coming out of has now been chopped up. So what I did that was full of complexity, I now operate in one capacity of what I was doing for the last 17 years. So my IT world has gotten really small.
Was it a lateral was it a lateral move once
for me?
What like for the people who are part of the organization that went belly up, for lack of a better word, was your position then lateraled, or was it diminished with the same pay? The reason why I asked that is because I was in the logistics business, and we were a small company that was sort of consumed by a larger one.
Yeah.
And they moved me over. Now, my job when I was with the smaller company was operation manager right below the CEO. But when the huge conglomerate bought us, I was reduced to nothing more than like a reservationist, but got the same pay.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm
and it is a little bit. It is a little bit of that.
Okay.
What I do now had to be done before I got called in.
Wow.
I was the escalation point. I was the top tier architect, right? And so what I do is what the engineers did all day before they called me in. And so yeah, absolutely. I didn't lose my classification. I didn't lose any. I didn't get a downgrade in pay. I didn't lose any vacation time. What I accrue is the same as I had, and I did not lose my tenure.
Right.
I'm still 17 years in. I just have a new company name, but it's still a massive, major mental shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably that change.
Yeah. But what you learn in life is you apply the same energy regardless of where you are. You get up the same way every day. You do your job every day. Right. And it really doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter your zip code. Doesn't matter whose name is on the banner, anything like that. So those are the lessons that you get reminded of when you move. But the upside is I had an opportunity to learn and meet these people, and the culture is consistent with what I just came out of. It's a very tight, closely knit group. Familiar environment. They talk about family. People are married. They have children. I'm just older.
Well, Pastor, I will give it to you because you dealt with that transition better than I did when I worked for a company called Logistics Worldwide. I responded. This is again 1995, 96. I'm the first African-American in that position in a business that just started 3 years before. I'm operations manager. I'm my first corporate job. I'm making $30,000 a year.
Right.
The corporate company Dynamics buys us, and then they turn me into a reservationist with the same pay and two guys who have never done the business before. I was supposed to train them to be my supervisors. I responded to that by showing up drunk and trashing the building and then smelling fired. You're much better than me. I just want to applaud you. If I can applaud you just for being a better man than me, I'll show you some love.
Listen, you was on the verge of inmate number XYZ.
I was a bitter person. They stole it from me, and I was going to let them know.
Right.
I love it.
I showed them. All right. So, Thomas, what we got going on? Anything in your world happening that you need to share?
Man, stuff in my world doesn't really matter right now on Freestyle Friday. We need to reserve this stuff for the deep stuff during.
I'm gonna have to hit the air horn after you finish. Like, let me
because the stuff I go through, it's just about research these days. By the way.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, we got there. There we go. All right. So everything in my world, sports. You want to talk sports? You want to talk them Lakers? Yeah, you want to talk?
Wait, let's. All right, so Kaneen,
Boy, that's cold blooded, man. See, when it's your platform and you your own producer, and you can do stuff like that.
I'm just saying
that's cold blooded.
That's what we do.
But,
championship's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, see, there we go.
Why still talking?
Yeah. No, man. I mean, it's Freestyle Friday, so I'm saying I was trying to think of being that. Well, now that's to be a little too deep. I'm gonna keep it surface.
Keep it
Did
deep.
y'all
Let's go.
see that Mike Pence was gonna have to testify against Donald Trump for the insurrection?
Yeah, I know. See, you got reason. I know.
I literally restricted myself today.
See, he said, "I'm not talking politics.
I'm just talking law. I'm just talking law."
Be more interesting.
All right. So we'll parlay that one. We'll parlay that.
Can I
what's
talk
up?
to you about this? This is actually I wanted to bring this up before, but I'm just going to mention it real quick. This is a
Blue line. I got you.
Yeah, the reason why I wanted to tell you that because the criminal justice system is something that I wanted to talk about, which I thought was very, very interesting because speaking of this whole thing that's happening in Washington, all that other stuff, and especially what happened with the Tyree Nichols case. The reason why I'm reading this book, and this is like a recent book talking about, this is an honest cop who's actually talking about the criminal justice system and how they're using it to line their pockets.
Okay.
And this was actually an incredible story that I'm actually a guy going to have on there. But what I wanted to ask was the outside of the politics thing and outside of the Tyree Nichols thing was, do you believe that part of the problem that we're having as a criminal justice system is the fact that people are being incentivized to do criminal things in that business?
When you ask the question that people are being incented to do these, you're saying being incentivized.
So here's okay. So
what group of people are you talking about?
The people who are in law enforcement.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because, like, what I'm learning more and more is that they have these little things inside the criminal justice system where police officers, FBI agents, and all that other stuff, they have these things that say, hey, if you have this in your criminal report, you get this perk. Like, let's say, like this guy who wrote this book, he says, if you get a fugitive warrant for a suspect, you get $1,500 added to your pay that month, even if the person isn't a fugitive. But if you add it on your report, you get incentivized for that. You add another thing on your report, you get a bump in your promotion, things like that. Wow. So it's turning from a criminal justice system to a criminal justice business.
Well, it's always a business. And, it's, to me, when we talk about the root of all evil, right? The love of money is the root of all evil. And we look at our criminal justice system, looking at the evil that goes there. To me, there's absolute corruption whenever you can incentivize something. If the guy in the book is telling the truth, obviously there's even more deeper corruption than we thought, being incentivized to do certain things. The first time I was arrested, man, the officer had me dead to right. Like, we go to trial and he just sits there and lies and lies and lies. And I'm like, man, you got me. Why you got to lie? Right? You ain't got to lie to kick it. Right. So the thing about it is, there's just the system itself when it comes to policing and how they work hand in hand with the district attorneys and everything else. There's this mindset of, this is us against them, and we have to protect the people and by any means necessary or whatever it may be. It's corrupt. I mean, there's a new series out on Hulu called Killer County by Colin Kaepernick. And that's talking about my hometown. And so it's all the corruption that's going on there and the many different things. But, growing up in that city, you can definitely see many challenges within the policing and within the other departments of law enforcement. So, yeah, man, it's out there. And then, as Blacks in this country, we definitely see a different side of policing and law enforcement. So,
and I think, go ahead. I'm sorry, AD. Because
the stresses. I think the stresses of it all. I had this conversation with. I just had this conversation sitting in the airport.
Really?
Yes. And it was really, really interesting. But you had the book, The Thin Blue Line. There's another book by Ron Harris, The Black and the Blue. Right, which deals with the cognitive dissonance in law enforcement. People turning a blind eye to the things that are going on. And to your point, Reese, I think what you're alluding to is somewhat demographically based, because it's not across the country. It is certain areas where you are incentivized to do certain things, write it up a certain way. Hey there, Sister Curvey. And so we have to take that into consideration. Right. When you think about what just happened with this young man with the 5 black police officers, what really drove that?
Yeah.
You know, because is that black on black hate, or is that the victimization of peer pressure, wanting to be part of the crew, wanting to be part of the blue?
Right.
You know, and the only people who really know the answer to that are the people who laid hands on that young brother.
Right.
Thank you. And I'm so glad you said it, because I think there's so many people who are making the determination for the officers, not knowing what's in their hearts or in their mindset in that example. I'm glad you said that.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things that outrages me. But the reason why I was bringing it up was because, look, this is not just happening with people in power. This is also happening with people in general. I believe that there's a moral decline in our society today. So my question as a part of this was on when I said I had a topic was, would you be inclined to take that incentivization or incentivization?
Incentivization is a word.
Yeah, in your own employ. Right. In other words, let's say that they were giving you $1,500 extra to put something in a report. Right. Would you do? Because I don't think it's just law enforcement. I think we're all sort of privy to making the extra buck.
Right.
Would you fabricate something if they made it available for you to fabricate?
That's good.
Interesting.
That's good.
It's a character check. It's an integrity check. You know, and the thing, if you are that person, you're probably the person who would, you know, take an extra piece of candy when no one was looking. When you were 5, you know, that extra piece of candy turns into what we just experienced with a very familiar politician who has told so many different stories about his background. It's not even funny, and he's still sitting in office. You know what I mean? That's the young kid who took the extra piece of candy. You know, he was only supposed to get 4. You know, you go trick or treating, and you know one neighbor doesn't want to answer the door, so they put the basket out in front and say, "Please, only take 3." Right. And then you dump the bowl, and run. Right?
Okay, you got me. All right, okay, you got me.
You know, it does go into different fields. It's not just if you're incentivizing somebody, it goes into stuff. So one of the things that I was saying we'll say for the rest of the week is research, right?
Right.
I was reading an article this week, and a lot of the things that I do now is geared around research. And they were saying how African Americans are underrepresented in research studies, and there's reasons for that. And if you look back at the history of research, and this is use the Tuskegee experiment as the main one, the syphilis experiment, whatever you want to call it, the reason why we're so leery of certain systems, and it started making me think, right? Why would they do this back then? Because if they get published, if they get this information, they get to move up in their fields, right? Right. And so when we think about like health inequities and different other things, and why we're underrepresented in these studies is because we don't trust systems. It's not just the healthcare system, it's systems, period. When we look at the American systems that are in place, we don't trust the corporate systems, we don't trust the justice systems, we don't trust the healthcare systems. And so it's the systems that are in place because we find that people are making money off the backs of other people. So and so when we start thinking about how they're incentivized to do these things, it's what causes us to be a little bit more leery when you start talking systems.
So I got a question though. I got a question. I'm a what they call a devil's advocate.
Hey, Mr. Advocate.
So when
I'm gonna say, hey, devil.
I was waiting for that. When incentivization. Today's word is incentivization. If I can say it right. When you're incentivized to do something, it makes it easier to do, right? If you get a little extra pay with upsells, you're more likely to say, hey, would you want some fries with that? You're more likely to upsell. But I feel like, and maybe in the criminal justice system, the idea, because let's keep it real, like if someone looks like you, and not just black, but just like, yo, this dude reminds me of me, I don't want to put this on here because this is going to give him a felony. Like he is this one thing going into the felony space. I don't want to put that on there. I just want him to know that he shouldn't do this again. He or she.
It's more than that though, AD.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying. But wouldn't you think like that may have been the purpose of the original purpose of doing so? So it's like, yeah, I need this Christmas. Like, you're gonna take this charge.
Survival of the fittest.
You're gonna take all this charge.
Better me than you, or better you than me. It's that kind of mindset.
Right.
I want to say, Thomas said something though, because Thomas, what you said, our insecurity, our lack of trust for the infrastructure, for the system, right? And then you brought up healthcare, which triggered something. Can we talk pharmaceutical sales?
Right.
And the trials that happen, and the incentives for pharmaceutical sales reps and those companies. Let's create a condition. Let's create a condition, and then create the healing for the condition, and let's ignore the side effects, because the side effects only promote more medicine being sold. Right? There's a documentary out right now called White Coat Rebels. You all need to check it out. It's called White Coat Rebels, and it follows this team of UCLA residents as they try to fight, they try to combat the system. And everyone's got a little bit of a testimony. One young lady whose family's from the Middle East originally, her mother passed away from cancer. She got into medicine because of the experience that her mother had. And it goes all the way back. You guys remember Dr. Marcus Welby, MD, the TV show that used to come on?
Sure.
Right? There was one episode of Marcus Welby, MD, where a black father was telling Dr. Welby, you're not going to operate. You're not going to be using my son as a test case. I don't trust hospitals. And Dr. Welby's like, I've got 30 years into this. And the black man is like, yeah, but you're white. You're part of the system.
Right.
My son is not going to be your guinea pig. And the son dies because the father didn't have trust for the healthcare industry. And there's so much of that going on. And so there are multiple facets of that. And so when you said that, Thomas, it just made me think about that documentary.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. I mean, we think about the opioid crisis we have going on, and how pharmaceuticals reps have changed the game. When we think about insurance, like, why are things so much more expensive in America, United States, than in other places, right? Because of the way we are after capitalism. We're a capitalistic country. And
there's a small part of that comes from giving free healthcare to people who can't pay for it.
Well, it's not just that, because there's other countries that give healthcare to full countries. So we can't
much smaller
go into
population
that.
though.
Yeah,
it could be a smaller population, but we're supposed to be the most what's the word I'm looking for? Not powerful,
benevolent.
No, we have the most money or whatever.
Well,
wealthiest country in the one of the wealthiest countries in the world. We're supposed to be, right? But we're not. We're in debt.
Yeah, because China owns us.
Right. We have this debt that we just makes us look good, and that's where we roll. But the reality is we allow sophisticated, not really.
Jesus, where's all the America hate coming from?
But the reality is not hate, it's just really pointing things out. Let's
Hey, I love my country. And listen, I can talk about it, but you can't.
Right.
Because if we start thinking about how the capitalism drives what we do, then we start to see these kinds of things.
Thomas, are you a socialist?
Huh?
Are you a socialist?
I'm not a capitalist, and I'm not a socialist, but I'm just a realist. So let's just keep it real.
Okay.
If we want to look at it from the real sides of how things are functioning, like, let's just talk about how it is. And why do people in prisons, these private prisons, why did they pop up? Was it because of capitalism or socialism? Which one?
Prison why prisons?
Private
exist?
prisons. Why did they start
nothing
popping
to do with
up?
Capitalism.
Why did private prisons? Why do we have lobbyists?
Well, I don't know if that lobbyist that's not a capitalist.
Lobbyist who has the most money gets their stuff pushed, right?
Of course. That's
okay.
That's cronyism.
Now, if no one was listening to
criminalism,
it's cronyism. That's
cronyism. No one was in their pockets grease, and they weren't getting the money, they wouldn't be listening.
Right, that's
cronyism. They wouldn't be pushing these agendas.
Yeah, that's
so
cronyism.
It's a capitalistic view of things. So whether you're a socialist or capitalist, it doesn't matter. What's real?
No, I hear you. No, I'm saying that what you're describing is cronyism, not capitalism. That's cronyism.
If there's no money, there's no cronyism. Take the money out. What do you have?
greasing the skids is not capitalism. That's just not the definition of it. That's all.
Wait a minute. If I'm going to accept money,
okay, can we? Okay, hold on. Can we say no?
Yeah, go ahead.
I like direction. So, can we say like this can be like the offspring of capitalism?
No,
you know what I'm saying? Like if we have a free, because capitalism is a free market system where you're free to sell, based on, of course, there's licenses and laws and things of that nature, but it's about making money.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, but what Thomas
if I'm a sales rep, if I'm a sales rep and you're giving me commission, if I'm a sales rep and you're giving me commission to make sales,
yes,
right,
and
you provide a bonus structure,
right,
yeah,
that's not capitalism,
right, exactly, and
the person, right,
what Thomas is describing is called cronyism, and not only that, it's called what I call extortion. That's not capitalism.
Cronyism is about partiality. Cronyism is about you having a partiality to someone that you already know. Regardless, it's a relational thing. When you add money to the decisions and you're pushing decisions based upon the money you can make off of it, that's capitalism.
Okay.
If you're making money off of something, if you're improving your status, your financial status based upon me making a decision and someone giving me a check for it, and regardless if I believe in it or not, regardless if I know you or have any relationship with you or not, that's a part of the capitalistic mindset of I'm going to get mine and I'm going to get my money, and as I get my money, then I'm going to move it forward. Cronyism has more of a relational aspect.
So I'm gonna read the definition, and I may have to lean on Reese a little bit. I think he might have a point. He said so. Cronyism, based on the Google, the appointment of friends and associates to positions of authority without proper regard to their qualifications. So I do definitely believe cronyism happens in all systems.
I agree with that also.
From a capital structure to a communistic structure to a socialist structure, the same things can be true.
Right, but the capitalist is the one who puts the incentive program in place.
Right. And I think what Thomas is doing, and this again, Thomas, this is not a critique. I think what you're saying is that you are using the association of money with capitalism, and therefore, you're funneling it into what the money is doing as far as cronyism. What capitalism is an exchange of goods, right? You give me money for the exchange of something, services or goods. If you are just giving money for a vote, if you're giving money for you to promote or something, that's a level of extortion. So, I mean, I almost feel like.
Let me preface this. I think we're going to different levels. The level we started off on was systemic levels. And so that's where I'm at. When we're talking system levels, we're talking capitalism.
Right.
When you're talking lower levels, you're talking cronyism or nepotism and all that other ism. Right. But we're talking the higher levels. Why are the levels at the higher places the way they are in this country? And it's because of capitalism, capitalistic society. Therefore, everything that falls under those levels falls within that system. And that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. No. And I understood what you were saying. You're saying that there are default characteristics or defective characteristics in capitalism that get us cronyism. Totally agree with you there. But abusing the system of capitalism for personal gain or for idealistic gain, that is corrupt. And I agree with you 100%.
So we have a mindset in this country that allows policing to be incentivized, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So is that cronyism, nepotism, or capitalism?
That's cronyism.
Right? So it's cronyism. But where's the system coming from?
Well, okay, but if
we weren't so focused on the financial aspect of this country and really building up our financial wealth in spite of other people's well-being, then we wouldn't have a lot of these other systems in place.
Well, you're talking about greed. And I think
capitalism is a way of saying greedy.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you were going to say it.
Let him into that, Reese. You let him right into that. You let him into that. I saw it coming. You let him right into that.
Listen, pardon me for a second. I'm going to break my arm, patting myself on the back because I'm a great
interviewer. It's not leading into anything.
Listen. Let me say this because I'm a capitalist.
Right.
I'm a capitalist who has
Okay.
an anointing for socialism.
Okay.
I want it. I want everything
But that's
that
not a
I
capitalist.
believe is coming to me, right?
Okay.
And I'm a private citizen.
Mhm.
I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry for power, but I definitely want comfort. You know, I don't want my children, I don't want the next generation to have to worry. So if I can operate in business and make as much money as I can, you know, minus the corruption, capitalism is not a bad word for me. It's just not. I think where it gets wrong, I think where it goes bad is when you have this private sector like lobbyists coming into the system and trying to control the government. That level of capitalism is why we're struggling in the manner in which we are today. And going back to cronyism, when you think about law enforcement and those incentives that you were talking about, Thomas, cronyism is putting people in power that push that agenda. That's where the gray areas come in, and that's the conversation that we need to be focused on.
So let me read the
But
definition.
again, what
Hold on,
allows that person?
Let me get a definition moment. Let's have a definition moment.
Okay.
You might be on to something, Thomas. I might have to give you a point for it. It says capitalism, an economic in noun form, economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit.
Right there.
But let me say this. There's a market economy that we can have without capitalism. There's a way of making money that you can have that doesn't drive capitalism. Again, the cronyism that you're talking about, putting people in place for power, you can't put people in place for power unless you got something to move them. What's more powerful than just putting them in place? The money that you can push them with. The money that
it's the power of influence.
Let me give you another example about systemic capitalism. If you have the money and you're rich and you find yourself in front of you should be in prison because of a lot of the stuff that you have done, but you have the money to back the system off of you. That's the capitalism that we have, because we're not worried about justice. If you can pay the right people to put them in place, that's not cronyism. That's like, I have the money to this. It's not a big deal. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying what is.
Well, it is crony. Look, what you're describing is cronyism. And there are two facets of what you're saying. And I agree with you. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I agree with you that saying that the money is used in a corrupt way to meet a need or an end for the individual.
Cause and effect. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and you're 100% right.
Effect?
We need what we need to do is, one, we need to make sure that there isn't a process to which that person with money can use it to empower themselves. We also have to de-incentivize, or in essence, eliminate the factor of those people who are taking that money. And you know, Thomas, you and I know this because you and I are understanding the criminal justice system, and in all facets of this, I think you and I are on opposite sides of the spectrum here. But we know this: people who you normally wouldn't believe have the money, if you will, to cronyize or to use cronyism to get their means. People don't know. We get told every day that teachers don't make a lot of money, right? Teachers don't make enough money. They need to be paid more. But go to their unions, the National Education Association. They get $24 billion a year in dues from teachers. And who do they use that money for? To lobby politicians to do their bidding. So again, we have people who you normally wouldn't consider very nefarious using billions of dollars to get their way. Cronyism is everywhere. I'm not saying that makes it good. It's that it needs to be stopped on all fronts, not just the Koch brothers or whatever. It's got to be stopped on all fronts.
So what's the definition of bribery then? Because that's
exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking
about. I mean, sophisticated way of talking about bribing people.
That's it. That's exactly right.
If cronyism is putting your friends in place, that ain't got nothing to do with the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm putting my friend
without money.
Yeah, I'm putting my friend in a position. I'm not getting no money out of it. I just got a friend that's got a different position. Maybe I can leverage our friendship down the road.
Right.
Possibly.
Right.
but ain't no money involved in it as of right now. You know what I'm saying? But if I give you $25,000 and this is what I'm finna and this is what you finna give me,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like that's something, and you already in a position. All I want you to do is put your signature on this paper or put this vote when they come to you to vote. You know what I'm saying? Like that's is that cronyism?
Do you all remember that movie? Does anyone remember the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper?
Oh
yeah. Great movie.
And you remember the scene? There's a part of the movie. Why are you doing this for me? Why would you? Well, one day you're going to get a call.
Right.
Right. But let me say this: there's cronyism can happen with that 25,000 also.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But cronyism can also happen with nothing, with zero.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. Right. It's like you're giving it two definitions when it should only be one across the board.
And nepotism almost similar. So
they're almost similar.
Exactly.
Just
but nepotism is family oriented. I'm giving my family, I'm giving my cousin, my brother, my grandson, my this, my that. You know what I'm saying? Like he got this position because we related by blood.
Right.
Because we're
related.
related.
It ain't about money. It ain't about friendship.
Right.
Right.
Put my nephew in this position because I know you to.
Yes, Lisa. And the word of the day is
that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's politics. Politics at its best. The best example of cronyism is politics.
That's right. Which we said we weren't going to discuss today.
I know. But unfortunately, Reese.
How can we not do this with Reese on the line? We have to go here if Reese is here. This is a wasted opportunity.
You draw it out, Reese. You draw it out.
Now, politics, I would say, is cronyism. I would definitely say that.
Agreed.
Because it's not a whole lot of money that's involved with this. Hey, I like
if you're talking politics,
because I need your vote in the future.
What system is our politics rooted in?
Democracy, according to the
according to it's supposed to be. What is it rooted in? Come on, guys. Be real. It's rooted in capitalism.
No, it's not.
Our system is rooted in capitalism.
I don't agree with that.
Listen, okay, let me run this down since we're on the rundown right now. All right. So if we start looking at how our country was built, when we start thinking about slavery, we start thinking about indentured servitude. You know what I'm talking about.
Indentured servitude.
Yeah, I couldn't get it out my mouth. We start talking about the prison systems. You start talking about the healthcare systems. We start talking about all these other systems that we've been talking about. Let's take it back to the beginning. Those systems are rooted somewhere. Now, I'm not going to say where. Everybody makes up their own mind, but let's not be blind that finances and money have driven this country. We're broke, but we make it look like we're rich because why? Because money is power. And if we look at that power and the money that's supposed to be able to drive, this economy, then that's where we're rooted. Look at the root. Look at the trickle down economics, right? When we start thinking about trickle down economics, we can talk about what is that rooted in? That's rooted in free industry to be able to get money that you can get as much money as you want, and you're going to trickle it down to the little people.
There's no such thing. Sorry, Thomas. There's no such thing as trickle down economics.
Oh, I get it, but that's what it was called in the 80s.
Will Rogers called it
in the Reagan era, right?
Yeah, there's no such.
Here's what I got. I got this for you.
All right. We shifted.
I know. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't.
All right. So,
by the way, can I just ask Thomas? Thomas, would you please I beg of you, could you please be on my show? I'd love to dedicate an hour to you. Just to talk to you, if you would. AD, please make sure that we get in touch with each other. I would love to have Thomas on my show because he's. I say this all the time. As a conservative, I don't like being in an echo chamber with a whole bunch of people who agree with me. I love talking to people who have a different opinion than I do. And Thomas, you would be perfect for my show. So I hope you'll take my invite.
Of course. Right. And it's just, to me, it's conversation.
Absolutely.
I don't choose conservative or whatever the other stuff. It's just our people need help.
Yeah. There you say that right there. That's it. That I believe.
All right. So, all right. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I've been on mute for like 10, 15 minutes. I'm just over
You
here.
had not been on no 10, 50. If you stop
I'm
getting the
just saying,
echo.
I mean, I had something to say when Reese was talking.
So
I
you had
something to say
Kaneem
when
on mute
Tom
the
was
whole time?
talking.
No.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't disagree. Let's just be my little.
Oh, he should.
Oh, good.
My apologies, man. I didn't mean to go off. I was
No,
listening to
it's
Tom.
all about the host. The host was on that.
Okay.
Ain't got nothing to do with you, Reese.
Oh, no problem. Do me a favor. If you wait here for a second, I'm gonna go find the license plate to the bus you just threw him under.
Okay.
You know what?
Don't worry about it.
I love it. I love it.
All right. So we talked about this earlier this week. So we had the GOAT conversation talking about LeBron.
What?
And hold on. Before you get in, before you go hard.
Hard to the paint.
Right. Like how do you define the GOAT in a space? You know, we throw that term around a lot, right? How do you define a GOAT in a space? Don't get into the exact fight, like, you know, the whole LeBron, Jordan, you know, kind of think boxing, like even with Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali, you know, like how do you define a GOAT in the space? Because it's, I think generationally, right? And I've been thinking about this. Sometimes it's hard to define it because it's where you grew up in, right? Us of the 90s, we seen Jordan, we seen Mike Tyson, you know, those that are older might have seen like Bill Russell and Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you define a GOAT in the space?
Okay. And you guys can jump on me, whatever. Here's my position, because I was born in a time where everybody's name is mentioned.
Okay.
And I've also lived through a time to compare who we have today, going all the way back to me watching basketball, which was in the late 70s. Okay. So if you think about who was balling.
I was thinking the same thing.
Huh?
I was thinking the same exact thing.
I almost spit my coffee out on that one.
What?
I mean, I
messing with your
wasn't
age.
born,
That's all.
But
Remember when Kevin Hart did to my man?
Age joke again? Okay.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and leave y'all with this here. Y'all enjoy y'all weekend, man, and you let Brian tell y'all about those 70s games that he watched.
No.
Wow.
I mean, you gotta stick around for a joke or something.
Hold on.
Nah, I got a 10 o'clock. I got a 10 o'clock call I got to get on.
Bless you, man. Enjoy your weekend, Kenny.
Always fun with y'all boys, man. Enjoy.
Appreciate you, sir. Later. So you think about people who had an opportunity to watch everyone that has been considered a GOAT, right? Because when you think about the GOATs, who comes to mind? Who's the competition between? It's between Wilt. It's between Bill Russell. It's between Michael Jordan. It's between LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, right? And a lot of the people today calling LeBron James the GOAT did not live through the Michael Jordan era. A lot of people calling LeBron the GOAT did not witness Bill Russell play basketball, did not witness Wilt Chamberlain play basketball. So my thing is, when you look at the game of basketball in the totality, you watch the game. Here's an example. Who was a better point guard? Who was a better basketball player, small basketball player on the court when he played than Allen Iverson?
Right.
Who was better? Tell me who was better on the court when he was on the court playing. Was there a better player on the court when Allen Iverson was on the? I'm not asking who was the most dominant.
Right.
I'm not asking you who was the best shooter. I'm asking you who was the best basketball player on the court.
Right.
So when you look at the greatest of all time and you just watch the game and you consider every game you've ever seen and every player you've ever witnessed play, if they're on the court with all, who's the best basketball player on the court more consistently? The best basketball player, not the best shooter, not the most dominant, not who gets the most rebounds, not who has the most rings, but who's the best basketball player that you have seen on the court?
Right.
So
consistently.
that's also, it goes. You have to also think about Allen Iverson in this aspect. Did he make everybody around him better? Because it's a team sport.
Right.
As an individual sport, then we can say Allen Iverson, pound for pound, the most dominant ever, Shaq. We start thinking about that. We can talk about, LeBron and Mike, right? Are they the greatest? And we talk about Mike because of rings, but Robert Horry has 7. Doesn't make him the greatest. Tom Brady has 7 rings, but is Joe Montana still the greatest? Is it the era that you played in?
Yeah,
and that's the other things that you have to look at.
Right.
Now, just because LeBron the other day said, I think I'm the best basketball player ever and called himself the GOAT, it's not a big deal. LL Cool J called himself the GOAT. Muhammad Ali called himself the GOAT.
Right.
John Morant said, "We good in the West.
We good in the West.
Yeah,
you ain't good no more."
I'll tell you what.
You ain't good no more.
I'll tell you what I call duplicitous in the argument about who's the greatest basketball player of all time, especially when you talk to these young kids. Pastor, you bring up a good point. These people, most of the people who are screaming at LeBron James is a GOAT, they're ignoring all of the people you mentioned, from Bill Russell to Magic Johnson to Larry Birds, and they're doing it on purpose. Let's not forget that, folks.
Right.
These people are forgetting those people on purpose. It is to disvalue or to remove from polite society the greats that came before LeBron James by being an ageist or using presentism in some sort of degree, right? So it's sort of like saying, well, Magic may have been great during your time, but LeBron is great today. You know what I mean? Like sort of like this whole like disvaluing anything that happened before it. Like, like people talking about how rap music is much more, blah, 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 blah. And back in your days, it's old and antiquated. Well, the people forgetting the road that's been paved for LeBron to exist, that's one egregious penalty on anyone who says LeBron is the greatest. But I'll use one that I just saw literally this morning in some comedy bit. LeBron James has been to the finals 10 times.
Right.
That should make him the greatest. But he's only won 4 championships. If this were baseball, he'd be Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
But it ain't baseball.
Right.
But you also got to think about the era, though. Like the Michael Jordan, the people he had to play against, the clotheslines, the Detroits, the New Yorks, and it's a whole different. You put LeBron in that same era. Does he have the mindset to handle it?
Did you see him give birth on the court when somebody fouled him and they didn't call him? Did you see him? Did you see him fall on the ground and give birth to a small child when somebody fouled him and the ref didn't call it? Imagine him playing against the dirty Pistons back in the day.
Right. Well, that's my point, Reese. It's like he's playing according to the way the game is called.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But he has
and
the
back in
body
the day,
for it.
they just balled out.
If he had the mindset for it, he could possibly. But it's always subjective when you talk about the greatest of all time. Well, it's a good thing that we get to see greatness. That's what I love. We get to see greatness in every decade. We get to see greatness in many different areas. And, it's always good to see greatness in these conversations. They have a place.
I think LeBron James is number 1 with a bullet when it comes to protesting stuff he knows nothing about. He'll be the greatest of all time. But greatest of all time, no, I'm sorry. No, just not going to happen. Like I said,
he is absolutely one of.
He is the best baseball player of all time when it comes to stats.
Okay.
He is one of the greatest to ever play the game. He absolutely.
Did I tell you guys I got a horse?
What?
Yeah, I got a horse. Yeah, it only comes out the stable at night, though. It's becoming a nightmare.
Give us. We need the sound. We need the sound. We need the sound bite. We need the sound.
He didn't segue.
Wow. That reminds me of my friend Cookie, who went to the doctor. I'm like, what you go to the doctor for? Cookie said, I felt crummy. What did the tortilla chip say? What did the tortilla chip say when he saw the cheese stealing? Hey, that's nachos.
Reese is like, okay, I'm over. I'm done.
Listen to me. I'd rather vote Democrat than to hear.
Why did the farmer have to separate the chicken and the turkey? He suspected foul play.
Oh man, a teacher had 6 bottles in one hand, 5 bottles in the other. How many? What does he have?
What's that?
A drinking problem.
Just went to a wedding.
Okay.
It was so emotional. Even the cake was in
Goodness gracious.
What do you call bears with no ears?
Nothing. They're not going to answer anyway.
B.
Oh,
Bears.
goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Folks, we now know why 74% of most households are fatherless.
That was good.
Oh,
That was good.
What did the scarf say to the hat? You go on ahead. I'll hang around.
Oh man. What do you call 2 birds stuck together? Velcros.
Oh, goodness gracious.
What did the police officer say to his belly button?
Oh gosh.
You're under a vest.
My wife told me she didn't understand cloning. I told her that makes 2 of us.
What is an astronaut's favorite part of the computer? The space bar.
How many spiders does it take to make an app?
How many?
0. They don't make apps, they make websites.
I felt that one.
Why did the pig get hired by the restaurant?
Why?
He was really good at baking.
After dinner, my wife asked me if I could clear the table. I needed a running start, but I made it.
No.
Why does Snoop Dogg use an umbrella?
Why?
For Dizzle.
Drizzle. Oh, drizzle.
All right, we're about to get out of here. Let's start wrapping it up.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
What do you call an escaped owl?
What's that?
Houdini.
What's the worst insult you can give to a ghost?
What's that?
Get a life.
All right,
I'm sorry. Can I just tell one great ghost joke? I got to tell one great.
All right.
Why is it that there's no such thing as a Spanish haunted house?
Oh gosh. Why?
Why is there no such thing as a Spanish haunted
Spanish
house?
haunted house.
Yeah. Because even when you're dead, you still can't get housing.
I didn't laugh, America. I didn't laugh.
You know,
I'm sorry. That's the only ghost.
I feel like once we get a budget, get some money, and I'm gonna have Reese in, and it's gonna be called Trigger Warning. This is Trigger Warning.
That's not a bad joke.
And then I'm not gonna be on screen because whatever he does, I need to be able to come on and say, I apologize for what Reese said. He no longer
not a bad
BOL.
It's not.
That's not a bad joke.
It's not. It's really not.
No.
It's the
It's
truth.
talking about the housing difficulties of Latinos in America.
Indeed.
It's
not a bad joke. Not a good joke.
It's not a joke. It's the truth.
Oh yeah, right. Houdini was a great one.
That feels kind of funny.
You were killing it with that one there,
Hey,
Seinfeld.
Paddington told me that joke.
All right,
why
so we're gonna get ready to get out of
back.
here, guys. Just Valentine's Day is coming around. So just
My
happy
wedding
Valentine's Day. You said you
Okay.
who?
How
You
many
got married
years?
on Valentine's Day?
Yeah. Getting married
Wow.
on Valentine's Day. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
How many?
My
How many
fourth.
years?
My condolences to your wallet.
No doubt. Listen, it's my fourth wedding.
Okay.
And my bank just told me with my fourth, I finally get the toaster.
Wow. So
Yeah,
if you
I
are-
got married on the anniversary of the day my wife and I met, so I feel your pain.
Oh, I wasn't saying it was a bad thing. Damn,
Yeah.
Pastor.
Pain is good. That you know,
Pain is good. Oh,
honey, if you're listening, I love you.
No, too late. Can't clean that up. So anybody, if you don't have a Valentine's Day, or have someone special to celebrate this day with, just remember there are people that don't have flags on Flag Day. There are people that don't have palms on Palm Sunday. So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. All right. So
They got a palm.
Oh my God.
We'll see you next week.
Wow.
The
There
last
was a
one.
lot
And
of
there are
double
people with no
entendre
jobs
there.
on Labor Day. So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. All right.
Wow.
So we will see you.
Yeah. Listen, if you're listening and at dinner time you don't have dinner,
Yeah. There you go.
call AD.
There you go. Bam. There you go. I'm solving
What was it,
problems.
933?
That was horrible.
Not 933 for your $1,500. Oh, so Richard said, Doctor, I think I'm a pair of curtains. He said, pull yourself together. Nice. See, I love it when everybody gets involved. I love it. All right, guys. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. 988. If you or someone you love is having a mental health crisis. Reese, you want to share something before we?
I just want to say thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
No problem, brother. Appreciate you being here, man. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And we almost kind of stayed out of politics. And you didn't even start. You didn't even start. I give you high five for that one.
I'm ready for it.
So we look forward to seeing you guys next week. We won't be on Monday, but we'll be on Tuesday. Here's that one more number. The number for the free 1,500, right? All right, we'll see you next week, guys. Be safe, make good decisions, drive safe if you're in Atlanta, because y'all be out of control here. All right, so we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care. Know that we love you. Jesus loves you more. We'll see you in the AM. Peace out.